Hello everybody, this is Jason Hires. This is My Essential Albums Volume 6. Today we're going to be talking about the recently passed Dr. John, and we're going to be talking about an album that he made in 2012, and it's called Lockdown. And here's the album cover. Try not to cover up his name too much there, but there it is. This was released in 2012. This is probably the least epic album of all the albums I've done a review for so far. But don't take that as meaning that this is a bad album or anything. If I chose to talk about it as a good album, it's a fun, enjoyable album. Now, Dr. John's been around since the 60s. And in a lot of ways, this album is an attempt to kind of capture the spirit of the early Dr. John albums, especially from like 69 to about 72 or so. And one of the keys is that this album is produced by Dan Auerbach. Now, for those of you who don't know who Dan Auerbach is, he's the singer and guitar player for the Black Keys. Now, Dan also is a producer, and he's actually produced albums for several people. I'm just going to name a few. He's produced albums for The Pretenders, for Lana Del Rey, for Cage the Elephant, and also Grace Potter. So he's been a pretty active producer, and he even has his own record label now called Easy Eye Records. And Dan definitely had a strong reverence for the early Dr. John work, and that really comes through in this album. There's definitely a kind of a retro early 70s feel on this album. Now, Dr. John is one of the more interesting characters in music, and I mean this in the best way possible. He had a larger-than-life persona, and it was all part of the fun. Dr. John, in real life, his name was Mac Rennebeck, but, his stage persona and the way that he performed and his, even his colorful costumes that he wore on stage just made him a really interesting guy. He's from New Orleans. He's a showman. He understands kind of like the swampy, bluesy, jazzy kind of feel. And, Dan comes in and brings his particular set of strengths into the album as well. And I guess that's one of the things I really want to talk about today is the role of the producer. I talk about producers a lot, but I don't know if all of you really understand what a producer does. Now, when you write a song as a performer and as an artist, there's, actually what happens is you write a bunch of different songs and you take the songs in to the producer and you present the songs to the producer, and the producer will actually listen to the songs and go, well, I like this one, I don't like this one, I like this one. We could do something with this, but I think we should do this, this, and this, and this. So the producer is somebody that'll listen to the songs and offer a lot of really interesting suggestions on things they can try, different instruments they could add, things like that. So the producer has a really important role in recording songs, and that's why if there's any role that you should really pay attention to when they show you record albums, is the producer besides the band itself is the next biggest role, because a good producer can make or break an album. Now in this case, Dan Auerbach is a good producer, and his style of production works really well with Dr. John. So this album comes out really as a fun, light-hearted album that really captures kind of a light, fun spirit of the 70s. It's a good album. It's not a fantastic album. There's no mind-blowing song on the album, and it's not it's not like this is a seminal work that breaks new ground, but it captures the essence of Dr. John, and if you've never heard Dr. John before, it's a good starting place for him. Some of the better songs on this album is Revolution, The Kingdom of Isness, You Lie, and My Children, My Angels. And so this is, this album is what it is. It's a fun album. It has good production. It has the kinds of things that Dan Auerbach adds to any album, but it also has the Dr. John elements too. So it's a good, fun collaboration. This is a collaboration between two parties that work well together, and that's why it's a good album to listen to. I think that's going to do it for today. I appreciate you listening and watching these videos. Please leave comments. Thank you and have a good one. Bye.